Assalamu alaikum everyone from another episode of Embracing Ramadan. You might feel especially hangry during Ramadan, but remember that we're not only fasting from food and drink, but also from losing our temper. The Prophet ﷺ asked his Sahaba, "Do you know who is the strong person?" And Sahaba said, "The one who is able to wrestle others down." The Prophet ﷺ replied, "No, it is the one who is able to control their anger." Our religion gave us ways to improve our self-control. One is to move or change our position. So for example, if you're standing, sit down. The second one is to make wudu. And the third one, it is seeking refuge in Allah from shaitan by saying, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان
يا جميل يا الله يا قريب يا الله يا مجيب يا الله يا حبيب يا الله يا رؤوف يا الله يا عطوف يا الله يا معروف يا الله يا لطيف يا الله يا عظيم يا الله يا حنان يا الله يا منان يا الله يا ديان يا الله يا سبحان يا الله يا أمان يا الله يا برهان يا الله يا سلطان يا الله يا مستعان يا الله يا محسن يا الله يا متعالي يا الله يا رحمن يا الله يا رحيم يا الله يا كريم يا الله يا مجيد يا الله يا فرد يا الله يا وتر يا الله يا أحد يا الله يا صمد يا الله يا محمود يا الله يا صادق الوعد يا الله يا علي يا الله يا غني يا الله يا شافي يا الله يا كافي يا الله يا معافي يا الله يا باقي يا الله يا هادي يا الله يا قادر يا الله يا ساتر يا الله يا قهار يا الله يا جبار يا الله يا غفار يا الله يا فتاح يا الله.
Hello kids, welcome back to the Arts and Craft Corner. Today we're going to be making an art based on Allah's name Al-Halim. Al-Halim means the forbearing, the most kind and gentle, the one who is calm and deliberate, never hasty, even with the rebellious and wrongdoers, the one who gives us the opportunity and the situations to learn to be kind, gracious, and patient. In Surah Baqarah verse 263 it says, "Kind speech and forgiveness are better than charity followed by injury, and Allah is free of need and forbearing." Ameen. Let's see today's art.
My name's Zaihan and I'd like to welcome all of you to the Kids Corner of Ramadan TV. Today we learned the name Al-Halim. That means Allah gives us many good things even though we do mistakes. He does not punish us and always gives us time to say sorry. Today's craft is this watch. To see how we did it, keep watching.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to Speaker's Corner once again. Islamophobia and media stigma is having real effects on Muslims as always. Today, we have a very successful story of immigrant lady as a Muslim media person. She is an Egyptian-Canadian journalist, was a producer at CBC's The Current, and as it happens program for almost 10 years. She's currently working as senior producer for Antica Production. We'll talk about Western media and struggling against stereotypes. Pacinthe Mattar, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Sister Asma.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Let me start from here. You have a very successful story as an immigrant, and for sure it's inspirational for most of the newcomers. Could you please tell us a little bit about your challenges in your personal life?
Sure. So I moved to Canada when I was 3. I was born in Egypt, and then I left again when I was 9, and I lived all over the world, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and then I came back to Toronto for university. I went to the University of Toronto, and then I did my master's degree in journalism at Ryerson. And while I was at Ryerson, I got an internship at CBC. And after the internship, it was hard to find stable work. You know, sometimes I would get a day of work and then nothing, and then a week and then nothing, and then sometimes nothing for months. So at first the challenge was just finding stable work in journalism. And there wasn't a lot of stability, but you just had to keep saying yes to opportunities and doing your best and trying to make connections and, you know, doing your best work. So it was a stressful time. But it took me 2 years of kind of unstable work and freelancing, and just sometimes I'd get a call at 4 a.m. and they'd say, "Can you come in?" And I'd say, "Yes, of course I'll come in." So it was about 2 years of that before I got a permanent job in 2011. So finding stable work in journalism was, I think, one of the biggest challenges just to start.
And speaking about media often plays a big role in setting the agenda, right? But unfortunately, we see that there's not often the accurate representation of Muslims, or it lacks representation to start with. Do you think the fact that there isn't much numbers in the work of Muslim workers in the media has to do anything with this?
Of course. I mean, the media, you know, what goes out on the media, I think represents who's behind it and who's making it. And, you know, without enough Muslims and any other group, you know, the story is always going to be told about people rather than by the people who know their stories best. So it is a challenge. And then for those who do make it in, you know, I'm very proud to know that there's a lot of Muslim producers and journalists, especially in Toronto now. There's more, but, you know, still not enough. And so what ends up happening is that those that are in media end up feeling such a burden of representing Islam and telling all the stories that matter as a community. So it ends up being, I think, a little bit stressful, even if you do make it, because then you are looked to as one of the only people who can get a story across, or who knows the community well, who can explain certain things. So it is a challenge, but I think we are getting better. And I think the key really is in having multiple versions and multiple kinds of Islam that people work with in media, so that there's a diversity of representation as well.
Thank you, Pacinthe. You are in media for many years, so I just want to ask that throughout the years, do you think there has been any change in the Muslim representation in the media?
That's a big question. I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, I would say not a lot has changed. You know, I feel a bit discouraged by some of the ways that, you know, Muslims and Islam are still being represented. For example, just recently I saw a TV show that has just come out. I forget what it's called, but one of their characters is a Muslim woman who wears hijab. But the scene that came out is of the woman, you know, she's a police woman, and the hijab falls off and her hair is flying everywhere. And then all of her male colleagues are looking at her and saying, wow, you know, and I just think like, and also, you know, if she was actually wearing hijab, she'd be wearing pins and her hair wouldn't have just, and there's a scene where she's praying and she's praying wrong. And so I look at that and I say, you know, I don't want representation just for representation's sake, just to say, oh, there's a Muslim woman. I want it to be accurate. I want it to be truthful and authentic, and one that actually reflects the real lives of Muslim people. So far, you know, it's a bit discouraging. However, I think we have gotten better. You know, I think progress is very incremental. I think there are amazing Muslim journalists right now doing amazing work in Toronto and Canada. Janella Massa, for example, is, you know, an on-air personality, an on-air journalist and host at City TV. And I think she's doing exceptional work, you know, Farah Nasser at CP24, and others, you know. So I think it's getting better, but it's still not, I think, as good as it can be. You know, so many of the stories are people talking about Muslims, even in the media stories. It's usually we talk about Muslims and rarely talk to them. I think that is getting better, but again, I think that burden is falling on Muslim journalists, Muslim producers to do the work to get the right people in the media. So I have mixed feelings, you know, better, but I don't think we're there yet.
So what do you think about the community leaders, Muslim community leaders? Like, what can they do in order to better the stereotypes regarding Muslims?
I think community leaders have a big job, actually, especially in a place like Canada and a place like Toronto, where people are Muslim of different backgrounds and different, you know, different degrees of practicing and different, you know, kind of experiences with Islam. So I think community leaders should try to make Islam and community events kind of more accessible. Sometimes I think from the outside in, it can feel like community leaders have this like very strict version of what constitutes, you know, proper Islam or something like that, or proper organizations or proper meetings. And so I think community leaders need to kind of meet people in the community where they are. You know, talk to them about what they're actually facing, what they're feeling, be maybe more accessible, more approachable. You know, even the Prophet ﷺ had questions and would ask, you know, for clarifications, and people would come to him and debate him, you know, and I feel like sometimes we've lost that skill in this day and age, that it's very top down, and if you don't do it, then you're not a good Muslim. So I think we really need to be more accessible, more approachable, and to also change who we see as community leaders, because often I think it's older male figures, you know, who've maybe grown up in different countries, and we don't have kind of locally born and raised different kinds of people that people can then see as leaders. So I think that needs to change as well.
So maybe increase representation in community leaders too, right?
Absolutely.
And diverse.
Exactly. And who we consider a leader and who we prop up as our leaders, I think also needs to change and kind of reflect the world and the city that we live in.
Thank you very much for being us and sharing your beautiful story. Very pleased to have you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me, and nice to meet you, Esma. Nice to have you.
Thank you. It's great to meet you too. It was an honor, honestly.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Pacinthe Mattar, very inspiring Muslim woman in media, join us today. See you tomorrow. Happy Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm back with more tips for healthy eating. You've all been eating dates, I'm sure, plenty of them, particularly at iftar time. I think they're an extremely beneficial type of food, which from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, where he has mentioned that dates actually, as you take your iftar, he mentions in a hadith, in a dua, that ذهب الزمع وابتلت الأروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. And it's a beautiful dua, but what it really saying is, the translation of it is, that the veins are moistened and the thirst is gone by the will of Allah. And initially I was a little bit confused about what this means, but then I realized that actually taking iftar, particularly the dates, gives you an immediate rush of glucose or sugar into your body. And not only that, but it actually gives you a very healthy amount of fiber also. So when you eat dates, you actually give yourself two things. You give yourself an immediate supply of healthy carbohydrates, sugar, healthy. But the other big advantage is that you actually give yourself fiber as well. And fiber is very well known to protect the person from things like constipation, slow intestinal function, etc. So I think dates are extremely valuable, and I think we should continue to do them. I use them in Ramadan. The second tip I have for today, in the same vein, is that fasting actually increases mental focus. It's quite amazing how modern research is showing that a fasting person is a more focused person. They are more capable of doing what a non-fasting person cannot do. There are, of course, more than one factor, but the component of focus, the component where a person can clearly identify what they want to do, is related to something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF for short. So this brain-derived neurotrophic factor is released in the brain and therefore helps a fasting person becoming more able to focus on whatever tasks they're doing. So today, inshallah, these are two tips that I'd like of my audience to remember. One is give yourself a healthy dose of sugar and fiber with dates when you break your fast. Don't eat too many of them, of course. And secondly, recognize that fasting actually gives you better focus. And the reason I'm saying this is fasting is something we can do throughout the year. Intermittent fasting, right? The Prophet ﷺ used to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. So let's, inshallah, adopt this habit from the month of Ramadan that we will continue to use during the remaining part of the year. Until, inshallah, tomorrow, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
يا رب إن عظمت ذنوبي كثرة فلقد علمت بأن عفوك أعظم إن كان لا يرجوك إلا محسن فبمن يلوذ ويستجير المجرم أدعوك رب كما أمرت تضرعا فإذا رددت يدي فمن ذا يرحم ما إليك وسيلة إلا الرجاء وجميل عفوك ثم إني مسلم.
We're engaging with social distancing and not social isolation. Especially during this month of sharing, we can still connect through technology. Virtual iftars, for instance, are a great way to connect. Or video calls where grandparents read a book to their grandchildren. Moreover, even family and friends can still play games such as charades. Just because we are not breaking bread together does not mean we cannot still connect. Thank you for watching us today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you tomorrow.